All right, folks, this is a quick one. We've been covering Morning Joe pretty thoroughly these past 6, 7 months just because they've gotten so funny. And we did a segment just on Sunday where we contrasted Joe Scarborough's, ha, I'm going to tell you the truth, and F you if you can't handle it. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever. See, I have it in my brain now. I don't even need to watch the video anymore. I have it memorized. That's how many times we've seen that. And then obviously he sang a much different tune on the Friday morning after the debate, essentially calling for Joe Biden to drop out. Mika, his wife, gave him a little pushback on that. And yesterday morning, you'd think maybe they would reconcile, maybe they would talk about this more, but turns out Joe was not there. Joe Scarborough is on vacation. A pre-planned vacation, according to Mika. Let's see.
Interesting.
Now, our Joe, is off this morning on a planned vacation. On Friday's show, I should clarify, Joe said
credible.
It may be time.
That's very credible. Yes. He planned a vacation without you.
Without you.
You're his wife. What do you mean?
Without
it was
you.
A planned vacation.
He planned in advance to ditch you and let you carry the show.
Nobody heard of this vacation. Right?
Yeah.
On Friday, he didn't say, hey, I'll be off next week. I had these plans.
And they always do that.
They always do that.
From back in my corporate media days, I remember that. They would warn you in advance when they were going on vacation.
He decides, a spontaneous vacation without his wife that just so happens to take place a couple days after they have this disagreement over whether or not Joe Biden should stay in. Not only are they disagreeing about that, but Joe has such egg on his face because he was the guy who most loudly and obnoxiously shamed everyone who doubted Biden was up to this campaign. F you if you can't handle the truth.
F you if you can't handle the truth, which we talked about this offline. Just strategically, you're a paid propagandist, right? Didn't you think that was going to come back to bite you?
Right.
That didn't occur to you? Like, did you really think they were just going to keep being able to cover up that he's demented? And there's no way they didn't know. They're too connected.
Of course. Well, according to Carl Bernstein, a lot of people knew, and we're going to get to that next. But let's hear Mika.
Now, our Joe, is off this morning on a planned vacation. On Friday's show, I should clarify, Joe said it may be time for Biden to consider stepping aside. He also said we should wait a few days to see.
I want to clarify. It may be time for him to consider. It may be time for him to consider stepping down. Joe wasn't saying he should step down. So maybe think about stepping down, right?
How he responds. We're shoulder to shoulder on that. I do agree. Joe Biden has work to do. He has to do better. His team has to do a lot better. I'm just not ready, though.
I just can't.
To count Joe Biden out. Not even close. Just as Joe and I were stunned by the president's poor performance on the debate stage, we've also been surprised by the level of animosity toward Donald Trump from people who once supported him. The debate acted as a wake-up call that was a loss for Joe Biden, no question, but not a win for Trump.
On what fucking planet did that debate cause backlash for Donald Trump?
Yeah.
I have not seen one take like that, and we're politics junkies. That's how we wound up in this line of work. You know, people ask me about doing the show. I say, well, the perfect job is doing what you would do anyway and making it your living.
Right, exactly.
I didn't start checking the headlines as soon as I wake up when we started doing this. I did that anyway. That's how we wound up doing this. So
that's how my friend convinced me to do the show in the first place. He said, listen, you talk about this shit anyway, just record it. Maybe some people will listen to it.
Just make it your job.
Yeah.
You're doing it like it's your job. You might as well make it your actual job.
Right.
I have not seen one person who supported Donald Trump the day before that debate come out the next day and say, you know, now I really have to rethink things. Like, what are you fucking telling people? Cite one fucking person. You can't, because if there were one person, you'd play the tape. You'd play the tape gleefully. All the liberal pundits would be playing that tape. There is no such. Who came away from that saying he did a bad job?
No, nobody. I
Like,
mean, they
if
said
you
he lied,
minded
but they
that
didn't
Trump
say...
was a degenerate liar,
Right.
you wouldn't have supported him this long to begin with.
Right. Yeah. But the other line of just such obvious... Okay, so they had a disagreement. We covered that on Sunday. They had a disagreement where Joe seemed to want Biden out. She seemed to want Biden to stay in. And apparently, I mean, they must have gotten a lot of feedback about this. Ooh, trouble in the House of Scarborough, right? So what's going on? So you would think, okay, even, and I don't believe for a second that the vacation was planned. I mean, none of the evidence says that. But let's just, let's assume it was planned. Let's assume this guy planned a vacation away from his wife 4 days after such an enormous, news event as a presidential debate. Let's just assume he did that.
In the middle of, right in the heart of election season.
Right. Yeah. Let's just assume he did that. You'd think you may want to put it off one day so you could come and have this conversation with your wife if she's saying, hey, Joe and I agree on this. Maybe, I mean, I don't know, if I like the good husband in me would say, show up next to her and talk through this right on the camera. I'm going to split for vacation without my wife and let my wife go on and try and do my backtracking for me. Wow.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy you are.
Well, Scarborough has shown something we didn't think he's capable of. Shame.
Yeah.
I think he's humiliated.
Yeah.
Because he knows everybody is playing his FU. This is the best Biden moment on loop.
Well,
Everyone with a take on this is showing that clip. I think he's humiliated. I really do.
Well, yeah, I mean, how could you not be? And if you actually, but see, this is why I don't believe that these people actually think the stakes are this high. If you believed the stakes were this high, you'd have been trying to solve this problem a year ago, not waiting until it blows up in your face when it's almost too late, to the point where now you're faced with an impossible question. And this is where I do give some credence to, or I would say I would award some points to the opinion that you should just stick with Biden. Now, if your goal is to win the election, then you can't stick with Biden, right? Because Biden is by far the worst candidate to actually win, besides Kamala Harris, evidently, oddly enough, right?
Yeah.
Big coincidence. She's in the VP spot. But anyway, yeah, if you want to win, you have to dump Biden. I am somewhat sympathetic to the
If you want to
argument.
have a small chance of winning.
A small chance of
It
winning.
probably will not work.
Well, this is
but
why
this definitely won't work.
Well, yes, and this is why I'm somewhat sympathetic to the argument that you stick with Biden, not for the sake of winning the election, but for the sake of minimizing damage to the party moving forward. If you say, okay, look, Biden's got 0.5% chance at winning. Whoever we put in has a 5% chance at winning. Do we really want to go through the trauma of doing all of this now and proving to our voters we could give a fuck about them under any circumstance? We're going to not even let the delegates pick the nominee. We're going to let the DNC pick the nominee themselves after the convention, which is a possibility. But if the delegates do it, that's bad enough because you obviously lied to your base for a year specifically so you could box them out of the nominating process.
Right.
Do we want to go through all that just to lose anyway, since we're almost certainly going to lose anyway? Like, on that level, I'm sympathetic to the idea that we just have to go with the line of bullshit that, no, we had a primary, the voters picked Biden, it's Biden, that's it. Or if not Biden, it's his vice president who's going to lose anyway. Like, that might be the better way to do it, considering you have such a little chance to win anyway.
Okay, first of all, their voters, as I demonstrated with my Pod Save interviews, you put a bowl of shit in front of them, they'll eat a bowl of shit.
That is true.
They're not going to get into the delegates. All you have to tell them is it's a parliamentarian thing you wouldn't understand. They'll go, okay,
Yeah, right, you can just say that.
I guess that's how they had to do it because that's the procedure.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about their voters. Their voters are fucking lobotomy cases. In terms of damage to the party, I mean, that's a wash. Is it going to be less damaging to the party for them to have to walk around through November pretending Joe Biden does not have dementia? Is that really going to be less damaging than just throwing up Gavin Newsom and losing?
Probably not. You're probably right. But like I said, I think, the argument, if I had, and I won't even say devil's advocate since I'm not especially invested in the Democrats anyway, so it really doesn't matter to me what they do. It would be fun to have a brokered convention, especially since you're going to be there. So just for entertainment value, I hope that's what happens. But I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, most of their base will fall in line no matter what. But I do think that is just a big to-do for something that is almost certainly going to fail anyway. Like, I am sympathetic to that. Like, listen, we're probably fucked anyway. Well, we're going to go through we're going to have a brokered convention now, only to shove up Gavin Newsom. It's probably saying, done anyway. Yeah.
The position you are putting every elected, also, they're going to look at the down ballot and what it's going to do to the down ballot if you're forcing all of the House and Senate candidates to pretend that Joe Biden does not have his brains leaking out his ears.
Well, yes, that you're right. That is probably the strongest argument to swap him out. Is that listen? Yeah, the presidency's probably gone, but are we going to make, for example, Bob Casey, which we'll show later, are we going to make a guy like that humiliate himself every day by supporting the president? That to me is probably the strongest one, because that one actually affects races, right? Whereas. I mean, as Bill Maher said, this election, I mean, the presidential election is pretty much, how could it not be? How could it not be? Yeah.
Please clap.